Hi, my name's Stuart. I'm excited to read and talk about one of my favorite poems. It's called In Memoriam by Alfred Lord Tennyson. But why should you care to listen? Have you ever struggled with grief? Maybe grief from the loss of a loved one. Maybe grief from a health challenge that changed the changed the way you were able to live your life, or maybe you lost opportunities because of a health challenge. Maybe grief because of a failed relationship. Maybe you gave everything you could and it wasn't enough and things didn't work out the way you had planned. Grief from lost opportunities or many other reasons. If that's you, this poem has something to say to you, something useful, I believe. Have you ever struggled with a faith crisis or a faith deconstruction where you were taught a simple way of believing when you were younger, and as you get older and realize that reality is more complicated than that, you have to try to process that. Sometimes maybe you were straight out lied to as a child. Maybe it's just that your community, your parents or teachers were simplifying things and that reality is more complex. That kind of faith crisis can be terrifying and paralyzing. And if you've had that kind of experience, Alfred Tennyson has something useful to say about that. Um, if you've ever wondered about your legacy, does any of this matter? What am I working for? What matters? What doesn't? Tennyson would ask, if everything changes and if nothing's permanent, then what really does matter? If you've asked those kind of questions, this poem has something to say to you. Or if you just love the sound of beautiful poetry, there's nobody better than Tennyson. Tennyson explores these great, deep, powerful issues in unparalleled beauty of language. So if any of that resonates with you, come join me. Come read through this poem with me. I am an amateur in the original meaning of the word. I do this for love and nothing more. I'm not an English professor. I'm not a Victorian era poetry specialist. I just connected. I found this poem at a time that I needed it. And as I read the poem, I felt like I had a friend in Tennyson. I felt like I wasn't going through these struggles alone. So I love the poem. And whether or not this helps anyone else or connects for anyone else, this is me making this series is part of how I say thank you, Tennyson, and it's part of how I enjoy and appreciate the poem. So other people who know more than me may disagree with my interpretations of some of these sections, and they may be right. I don't know. I've really enjoyed learning about the poem. Um, I've learned more about Tennyson's world through the poem. I'm not an expert, but I really love this poem. And one of the wonderful things about poetry, I used to hate this about poetry, but as I get older, I appreciate it more. Two people can read the same poem or the same passage of a poem, and it can mean something different to both of them. The adventure, the wonder is, what does the poem mean to me, and how does it change my life? So, if someone does disagree with my take on the poem, that's okay. I love I love the conversation. I love the discovery. I love the adventure. I'm not a professional, and professionals might listen to this and say, he's wrong there. He's wrong there. That's okay. Um, some sources that I'd like to go over or that have been helpful to me. First and foremost, is this Norton third critical edition, edited by Eric Gray. Lots of helpful footnotes and some helpful texts that put the poem in context. I love this book. I've really enjoyed it. And a lot of the there are some challenging passages in this poem, and this book has been very helpful to me to make sense of some of the difficult things. Again, the language is always beautiful, but sometimes it's not clear exactly what Tennyson means. That's what I hope to add to the conversation. There are some really beautifully done videos of people reading Tennyson, but what I'm going to add, certainly not beauty of language, but in each of these videos, I'll say a little bit about what I think the section means and then read it. So I hope hearing what it means to me, at least, right before you hear the section will help you connect a little with what Tennyson was trying to say. So the Norton Critical Edition, most helpful. Lisa Van Dam, she did a series, I heard it on Apple Podcasts, where she read through the poem, and her project was really the inspiration for me to try this on my own. Marvin Bragg is a host for the BBC series, I think it's called In Our Time, and he has done a couple of episodes on Alfred Tennyson that have been very helpful to me. A poet on YouTube, his name is Malcolm Guite, Guite. He loves Tennyson and has had some really inspiring videos where he walks through or talks through a few of the sections of this poem or other Tennyson poetry. And there is another English actor, poet, whose name is Arthur Wood. He has read through the poem as well. His videos are available on YouTube. I will put links to these things down in the description. And if you want to hear the poem read beautifully, Arthur Wood's version is beautiful. I've not heard it done better. I will read through the poem, as I said, but it's not as good as Arthur Wood's for the beauty of the language. So, what is In Memoriam? Alfred Tennyson was a young man, rough childhood, went away to school, probably like a boarding school, met a friend, Arthur Hallam. They connected quickly, best of friends, bosom buddies. Tennyson really looked up to Arthur. Arthur was just good at everything that he tried. Poetry, politics, religion. They would get together as a group and discuss and ask all the big questions and debate. And Hallam was just beyond his peers as far as his thinking, his cognitive and creative abilities. Tennyson really looked up to him and looked forward to a long life together of enjoying being together. And then on a trip in Europe, Arthur Hallam died unexpectedly. It was 1833. And when Tennyson got the news, he was devastated, totally incapacitated. He just could not cope with the loss of his friend, totally derailed. And for 17 years, he would go for these long walks and he would write these poems. He originally he wasn't intending on this being one big poem altogether. He was just writing lines just to get through the day, try to put his feelings in words. And then he accumulated more and more and more of these, and his friends and family encouraged him to package them together as a poem. So that's what he did. The poem takes place over 3 years, the first 3 years after Hallam's death, but it took Tennyson much longer to write it. And over the course of the poem, we'll get to go with Tennyson, be with him as he copes with this grief. You'll see this as we go through this together. Well, he'll have one section where he almost seems like he's making a little bit of progress. He's got a little bit of hope. Everything's going to be okay. A couple sections later, he's in this deep, paralyzing despair. Just can't cope with it. A few sections later, he again expresses a little bit of hope that maybe everything's going to be okay. A few sections later, back in deep despair. And that's real life. If you've been through a grieving process, you know that some days you're okay. Other days you just can barely put one foot in front of the other. So often we get like a sanitized product after the journey's been complete, and you can see the arc from start to finish, and it's a nice, bad moving to good, and we're happy with that. Tennyson was writing these in the moment, from day to day, and we get to see this natural struggle, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It can be a little bit, if you're expecting the pretty arc, this poem feels a little bit off-putting because he's just moving back and forth, and so if you're not expecting reality, then that can be a bit of a struggle. Also, I want to say a word about the form of the poem, the rhyme scheme. In each of his stanzas, it's a 4-line stanza, lines 1 and 4 rhyme, and lines 2 and 3 rhyme. Our ear is more accustomed to hearing A, B, B. Tennyson gives us A, B, B, A. And when I started reading this poem, I didn't like that, because as you're moving forward, you're expecting the rhyme, but you have to look back. You have to try to remember back a few lines to get the rhyme. So the easy satisfaction isn't there. You're moving forward, you're looking back, trying to remember back, and it's just more work than if he had just done A, B, B. Easy, beautiful rhymes. Hey, piece of cake. But as I've spent more time with the poem, I've seen, and I don't know if Tennyson was intending this or not, but this is a literary embodiment of what Tennyson was living through. And any of us, as we grieve, live through. You move forward. You have to move forward. You can't. Each day comes whether or not you're ready for it. But you're also looking back. You're wishing things could be different. You're remembering the happy times. You're grieving the sad times. And yet you're also moving forward. So the form gives us another way of reliving the kind of tension between embracing the future, moving forward, and reliving and longing for the past. Um, one of the best things I hope that this poem or that the poem gives to me, and I hope it gives to you, is permission to grieve. Too often, when someone we love is struggling, too often we want to come and just pick them up and dust them off and cheer them up and send them on their way. It's really hard to see someone you love hurting. Our first instinct is to fix the hurt or try to make it go away. This poem, I hope, gives us permission to not be okay. It's okay not to be okay. It's okay to hurt. It's okay to question. It's okay to struggle. I'm reminded of Job's friends in the book of Job in the Old Testament. Job goes through this very, very difficult experience. And his friends come and they want to make him feel better. They want to just encourage him and, Job, you're good. You're okay. And it turns into a fight. It just doesn't work. So this poem says, it's okay to be okay. Let's just sit in the discomfort for a while. And then when we're ready, when Tennyson's ready, he moves on his own. That's it. I'm excited to read through and talk through this poem. This poem is it's one way for me to appreciate this series, is one way for me to appreciate this poem. I hope that it is enjoyable to you or comforting or helpful, whether you're here to learn more about the poem or whether you're here struggling with grief or, like I say, a faith crisis. There's some really wonderful things here, and I look forward to taking this journey with you.